Hello, my name is Brandon. This is gonna be fucking weird. Hello, my name is Brandon. I am a senior here at the University of West Florida in Pensacola, and I study mechanical engineering. And I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, but never really knew how. But I just actually watched a video by Jarvis Johnson, where he kind of ran through his computer science degree from Georgia Tech, and I thought that video was very informative, just for people who might not know, I guess, the ins and outs of a degree that they are interested in. So today I'll be running through my mechanical engineering degree. Jesus. Okay. Let's get right into this. As you can see on the screen, my primary degree program is mechanical engineering, and conveniently I also got my associates in December 2018. Big flex, not really. The associates, I don't even know, it's kind of like a participation trophy. It's like, you did half of what you needed to do, so good job. This was all stuff that I did in high school. When I was a senior, I dual enrolled in 2 courses, which is not like fancy at all. My recommendation, if I could go back and do it again, I would dual enroll more, come into college with an AA, because I know plenty of people who did that, and just save yourself a lot of time, money, and just overall whatever BS classes that you're going to take in college that you'll see that I took my first 2 semesters. I also came in with 9 AP credits. This is my first year in college. Let's take a deep dive. It's very tainted early on, as you can see on the 4th class down. US history was fine, it was BS. Trig and pre-calc, if you're going to be an engineer, those are necessities. They were fine. Recitation was like a lab for those classes, also a waste of time. Pretty sure most universities either don't do it or have done away with that, so you'll basically just have to know how to do trigonometry and pre-calculus, and you'll be fine starting out. Ethics in contemporary society, it was an online class that I didn't do. Underestimate online classes, they will give you an F. Moving on to the spring, I took Gen Chem with lab. Easy. You'll need to have a basic understanding of chemistry. Moving on, Introduction to Engineering. It's a 1 credit hour class that met on Fridays, and the only reason I got a C in that class is it was project based, and projects in college, C. I also took professional ethics. Everybody should take an ethics course. Everybody actually has to take an ethics course, which I highly support. And then I took Cal 1, which was great because I took it in high school and got a D. And I took it here, and I'm pretty sure I got like L100 on my final. So if you want to be an engineer, you're gonna have to nail down your mathematics. Those are your little baby wings before you fly into being an engineer. So understand calculus and basic mathematics is basically takeaway number 1. My first official year in college, I had some friends that were a little bit ahead of me, and they told me that taking Calculus 2 and University Physics, which is calculus-based physics, together was not a good time. So I took it upon myself to take Calculus 2 during the summer. I know a lot of people who took them together and were completely fine, but that's just the route I ended up taking. I got a B. Cal 2's the hardest of the series. I would say yes, of the calculus sequence, Calculus 1, 2, and 3, it is the hardest, but it's very manageable if you actually do your homework. Engineering materials, that's an introductory course to learning things such as crystal structures and stuff like that. In materials, you get a little bit into stress and strain, things of that nature. Computer design. Okay. Computer aided design and modeling, that's SolidWorks. Very cool course. Basically, I got to just put on music and mess around in SolidWorks for my homework. It was awesome. Ethics in Contemporary Society, that replaced the F from my first year. And then we have University Physics 1 with University Physics 1 lab. The lab was horrible. Basically, I did not come from a program background, and they threw you into the lab with other people of varying majors, and they were like, hey, Python code this physics problem. It's like, one, I don't understand the physics problem. Two, I don't know how to program. So that was a stretch. Got through it with the C+ though. Ayo. Spring of my second year was sophomore design. That is a project-based class, which actually went well, surprisingly. Calculus 3, A-. You don't use Cal 3 that much, and if you do actually end up using Cal 3 for anything in courses later down the line, they'll kind of nudge you in the right direction and be like, hey, you should remember this from Cal 3. It hasn't happened yet. Linear algebra was cool. I finished that final in like 15 minutes and was really nervous when I left, but at that point it was my last final of the semester, so I was like, oh, I'm out of here. But it's matrices operations and things like that. Then you have University Physics 2 with lab, and the lab was the same as Physics 1. And the crazy part was, the guy who proctored my lab for Physics 1 was my professor for Physics 2, and the guy who was the professor for my Physics 1 lab, like actual class, was my lab proctor. So they just flipped. They are not nice people. One is nicer than the other, but it's fine. Barely passed that class. For your actual degree progression, you need a C or better. So I picked up a C in my Physics 2 class, and looking back at it now, I think I could do better, just because I obviously have a deeper understanding with the classes that I have taken and the applied physics that I have done. But yeah, that was a rough semester. I don't know why, looking at this transcript now, I took one summer class every summer, but it's fine. I took Intro to Literature for my like basic requirements. It was a very much BS class. It went fine. At that point, I didn't like to read all that much, so it was like, meh. But then we got into our third year of college, which is fun. Statics. This is like one of your first, I'm gonna be an engineer. Basically, everything is framed in static equilibrium, and you get to solve for forces and like things acting on assemblies and structures. It's a very interesting class and critical to a lot of engineering disciplines. Numerical methods, still couldn't tell you what that class was. I showed up and then I left. And that's kind of how it went. Sophomore Engineering Design 2, another project-based class. And then we got into Thermal Fluid Systems. Love that class. Probably my favorite. Professor was great. That is fluid flow analysis, as well as heat transfer and things of that nature. And at my university, it's broken into Thermal 1 and Thermal 2. So Thermal 1 went really well, and then I took differential equations. Professor was also really cool. Really enjoyed that class. So that was very, very cool. The spring of my third year, I took circuits with lab. The only reason I passed that is I had an electrical engineering major as my partner. Thank you, Keith. Without you, I would not have passed. The lecture was interesting and fine, but the lab was just over my head. It was applying the things we learned, and it just wasn't for me. But luckily, I mean, that's, as a mechanical engineer, yes, you'll work with like sensors and low-level circuits as you move forward with your career and whatever you do. But like, you can Google it. Junior design, project-based class. Thermal 2 actually had a lab which I vaguely remember, but it was just an expansion on Thermal 1. So you're just applying calculus and things of that nature to analyzing fluid flow and heat transfer and the way pumps work and all that fun engineering stuff. And actually, it came in handy. I had an internship in the fall. What? Oh, boom. Down here. In the fall, I worked at a chemical plant here in Pensacola called Ascent Performance Materials as a mechanical reliability engineer. And basically, a lot of the things about pumps that I did know, which was very minimal, came from that Thermal Fluid Systems 2 class. I then proceeded to learn more than I could have ever cared to learn about pumps from the people I worked with, which I am very grateful for because it was very interesting and overall a very great experience. And then I took another summer class. I got an internship credit, which was cool because of this was before Ascend. This was the job I currently work at now, which was nice because you got to just claim that, and it was just one credit at a time. And then I took dynamics, which is basically taking everything from statics and then putting it in the real world where it moves, and then applying calculus and physics to solve for forces and things acting on whatever they told you to find. So your knowledge on physics and mathematics early on, like a firm grasp on those topics, is very, very important. So I recommend emphasizing on actually studying and learning those rather than just like, okay, well, I'm in the class and I did my homework and I passed the class and now I don't need it anymore. You still need it, trust me, because things come back to haunt you. We get a little more recent, spring 2020. Extraordinary circumstances encountered. Corona. Nice. But this was the first time I ever learned programming, and I thought it was a good idea, and it was a good idea. I took C++ and then programming for engineers right there, that was in C. So like syntax different, core values of like structuring programs the same. So basically I went to class until Corona and learned how to do everything in C, and then for my C++ class I just changed the syntax to work in C++. So that was pretty fun. Engineering software tools, that was learning how to use MATLAB. Junior Design 2 project course. Statistics, it's legitimate. Why? Leave me alone. Statistics, they call it engineering statistics. It's regular statistics, but they focus on manufacturing processes. So it's engineering because you're an engineer in manufacturing processes. Engineering economy, it's a regular economics course like compound interest, regular interest. Basically, it's how companies spend money on technologies and how that money kind of flows through a project. So I personally like economics, so it was interesting for me. And then another internship credit. Summer of 2020, I took a sustainable power systems course, which is an electrical engineering class. And the reason I took that is I walked into my advisor's office and I was like, hey man, I'm trying to graduate and I need another advisor approved elective. So I need you to tell me the path of least resistance to get out of here. And I listened to him, shouldn't have. So I guess that parlays into do your research, ask students about easy courses if you want to actually take easy electives, and yeah. Most current term, introduction to flight. As a mechanical engineer, my, I guess, focus is aerospace. That's where I can see myself moving into post-grad. My capstone design actually is an SAE Aero project, and all of those design courses all the way back up to sophomore design were on SAE aircraft. So that has greatly helped my resume and my skill. So if I actually get to interview for those jobs, I have something to stand on and actually talk about. Mechanics and materials, put this into perspective for you. Our class average for the first exam was a 17, and the fact I finished that with an A was very happy. Well, 1 second. Oh God. This is one problem from this is from when I was studying for my final for mechanics of materials. So yeah. And then dynamic systems, that's controls and modeling transfer functions of physical systems. So know how to do transfer functions. Really easy stuff once you remember it, because I took differential equations way back. But ultimately, everything went well. It started to not look like it was going to go well, but it started going fine. And then these are my last 4 courses that I have to take this coming January, and I will be graduating in May. Hopefully. I have to finish my capstone project. Machine design is basically walking through the project management / design process of a system. So I have friends that took that course, and they're like, oh, like I designed like a noise box, which is like a kid's toy or whatever. Basically, they just want to make sure that you can follow the steps of the engineering design process. And then mechatronic systems and mechatronic systems lab, that is an integration course between mechanical, electrical, and some computer science. Because basically, you're taking input data, this is the way I understand it, don't know yet, but you're taking data from like code or sensors and using code to tell, I guess, hardware what to do. So it should be really interesting. But yeah, I hope this helps anybody who might be thinking about mechanical engineering as a college major. If you're in high school and you're like, oh, mechanical engineering sounds really cool. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time in college as a mechanical engineering major. A lot of people like to either put it on a pedestal of saying, oh my God, it's really hard, or just crap on it because some people are just toxic. But all in all, the one thing I could say, if you are making the decision, definitely do your research. Look into many different majors from many different career options and paths. And also, if you are set on like, I want to be an engineer, look at the subsects, look at the categories of engineering, because there are just a wide variety. And with that, also look at the job attrition rate. So look at how fast the projection for opening jobs is in that sector. Like mechanical kind of matches the economy, so realistically it should have jobs when I graduate. But you also have to take into consideration the market saturation of graduates when you will be coming out of school. So yeah, I hope this helps. And if you enjoyed the content, if you have any questions, if you have any recommendations for future videos, please be sure to drop those in the comments. And yeah, just let me know what you want to know.